What's going on, guys? Welcome back to my channel. Thank you guys for tuning in. Shouts out to all the new subscribers, people that are new to the channel. Thank you guys so much for hitting that subscribe button. If you're not yet subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. Give me a thumbs up on any videos that you like. And always leave comments below. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you want to see next. It really helps me when it comes to the creative process of knowing what type of videos I want to put out next. I always read through the comments and any suggestions that you guys might have, whether it's tools, whether it's shaping beards, any type of haircuts you guys want to see, please leave it in the comments and I will look forward to trying to put together some content that really relates to my audience. But before we get started with this high taper fade, run that intro. Hi guys, welcome back to another tutorial. Today we're going to be doing a high skin tapered fade with a number 1 guard on top. The first thing we're going to want to do using our cordless and this master is we're going to be using a number 1 guard and we're going to be cutting the hair with the grain. As we're cutting the hair with the grain, we're going to make sure that we're brushing all the hair out of the way so that way there's no excess hair that might mess us up. Sometimes that hair gets in the way and you might think that the hair hasn't been cut down in a certain area, but it already has. So you want to make sure you're brushing that hair completely out of the way so you can have a clear view. For the next step, we're going to be using a number 2 guard and we're going to go against the grain with this one. So we're going to go with the next size up. So since we cut the hair down with a number 1 with the grain, we're going to go against the grain with a number 2 and we're going to start creating our base for our neck taper. After we completely smoothen out the back with the number 2, we're going to go back and work right underneath that with a number 1 guard open. And then we're going to close it halfway and we're going to work down just a little further. And then we're going to go back and close it all the way and work it down just a little further. This is a numbers game, so each time we move down, we're closing that guard just a little more to create the fade. And we're going to do that all the way down to a 0 guard. So the next guard we're going to use is a 0, purple 0. And we're going to do the same thing. Start with it open, close it halfway, close it all the way. After that, we're going to be using a master with no guard. And same thing, guys, just a numbers game. Starting with it open, moving down just a little bit, closing it halfway, and then closing it all the way and moving down the furthest. And at the very bottom of this taper, I'm going to want to use a master with a fade blade. And I'm just going to go ahead and just clean up the bottom real nice, make sure it's nice and tight to the skin. Using a master fade blade is going to give me a lot more detail, and it's also going to get that skin fade really close to the skin. My next step is going to be to use Chisap, which is almost like a spritz, and just spray the neck down. And as I wait for the neck to dry up with the spritz, I'm going to go ahead and start setting my guideline for this corner taper. And I'm setting a guideline, but I am doing a reverse fade. The guideline kind of just helps me keep my fade exactly where I want it. So again, we cut the hair down with the number 1 guard with the grain, so now we're going to go back with the number 2 against the grain. And once we smoothen that out, we're going to start with the number 1 guard all the way open, and we're going to work right underneath that. Always brushing that hair out of the way. Now we're closing halfway and working about a centimeter lower, and then closing all the way, and again working it down. That's why they call this a down fade, because we're working down each time. And we close it all the way, and we work down just a little further. Now we're going to go with a purple 0 all the way open, and right underneath that, using a C-stroke motion in the very corner of my blade, I'm just going to start blending out that line. And you can see that line already starting to disappear, but we're going to keep working all the way down till it's gone. Now we're going to close that 0 all the way just like we did with the 1, and we're working with that very corner. And as you can see, I'm brushing every single time, almost every stroke. Now we're using a master all the way open, regular blade. And the reason I brush so much is because sometimes we can get confused and we'll see a little bit of hair and we'll think there's a line there, but it's really just the excess hair that kind of got stuck to the client's head. So you want to make sure you're brushing all that stuff out of the way so you can get a clear view of your canvas. Now we're going to close that master just a little more. You can see that I'm working down, getting closer to that line, getting closer to seeing it completely blend out. Now we're going to go back with the master fade blade. This is going to give us the detail. This is going to knock out that very little bit of line that's still there. We're going to close it, work down, close it all the way, and work that line all the way out. Now we're gonna spritz it again with the Chizap, and we're gonna let that sit, let it dry. That's gonna give us a nice clean line when we start to use our T-edger. And for the sake of time, I'm gonna go ahead and just fast forward through this other side. Same technique, down fading. And then we're gonna start on the back. And you see with my index finger how I remove that ear out of the way, make sure my client is nice and comfortable. And I'm just giving it a nice line. You can see how that Chizap really makes it crispy and makes it look like you almost hit it with a razor. But all it is a zero gap T-edger. And that liquid razor is really gonna help. So now with this client, he has a little bit of a widow's peak. So we're gonna start in the middle just to make sure it's nice and even, make sure we don't go too far back. And I'm left-handed, so I work my way right. And then I'm gonna start working on this temple peak point, giving it a nice angle. And I'm aiming it more towards the eyebrow than behind the eyebrow. A lot of barbers sometimes like to push that line back, and it just doesn't look right when you're looking at it dead on. It doesn't give it that nice square effect. For this step, I'm gonna be using a hot lather. Just to soften up the cuticle, I'm gonna use a hot towel. That also relaxes my client and just makes the service that much better. A lot of times barbers focus on the haircut, and it's more about service to me. Now I'm gonna start brushing the hair forward right before I put the razor on it, just to make sure there's no hairs hanging over the hairline, anything I might need to clean up before I start adding my color enhancements. And I'm making sure I'm giving that skin a nice stretch with my opposite hand, and then I'm holding that blade at about a 30-degree angle as I shave. For this step, I'm going to be using a Barber Magic pencil, and I'm just going to outline the hairline. This also helps me make sure that the hairline is nice and straight, because the outline, you can really see that the hairline is nice and straight. And I'm going to brush the hair back before I add my enhancements, because the enhancements are really going to stain the skin. So you really want to focus on getting that skin underneath the hair to give the illusion of a full hairline. And when I'm adding that color, I like to use a gliding technique. I'm going to use that brush, the Kiss brush. And I'm using Kiss Black, and I'm just gliding across, and then I'm going back and filling in everything behind it afterwards. A lot of barbers sometimes like to pat the hairline with the brush, but to me that leaves bristle lines, and gliding that brush really takes away from those bristle lines. And on this temple peak point, I kind of created a little bit of a triangle, as you can see, and I made sure that I glided from bottom to up into the dark hair, right? So you don't want to brush down because the fade is there, and you don't want that color to overlap into the fade. It's just going to look blotchy, and it's going to make the fade look like there's a line in it. So you really want to blend that color back into the darkness of the hair. And using the Andes brush, you're going to brush it all back. It's going to blend really well. And once that's done, you're going to razor out that Barber Magic pencil to make sure it is all gone. That white line is not attractive. And there it is, guys. High taper, step by step. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you liked it, please hit that thumbs up, share with a friend, and also subscribe. Catch you guys on the next one.